Oh, honestly, guys, I don't even really know where to start with that one. It was beyond gut-wrenching, and the feelings after the game were just so mixed because after 15, 20 minutes, if someone offered me a 0-0 draw, I would have snapped your hand off. Absolutely snapped your hand off. I was praying to God that it would get away with a draw. Do you know what I mean? But after the game, I'm thinking, how the fuck haven't we come away with a 3-4-0 win there? And you do have this really sinking feeling, and particularly in the manner that the game did end, of course, with 2 missed penalties. And before I do get into the review in itself, I will just say on Wilson Isidor, he has come out and he's apologised for his 2 missed penalties. And there has been a huge conflicting response online to the misses and to the game in general. Of course, there was 2 penalties, both of which Wilson Isidor chose to stand up, take, and he's missed them both. First one, it wasn't great. He just went for sort of power. He's gone slightly to left, but still easy enough and close enough to the keeper to save. And you could argue he was brave to step up for the second one, but he's gone for the exact same corner. He's stuck with his guns, gone for the same corner. He's just thought to himself, right, get a bit more accurate into the corner, hit it as hard as you can. And, it was Trafford in goal. He predicted him. He's done his own work and he's read him like a book. And he's missed a second penalty and what would have been an absolutely colossal 3 points. And, when that second penalty was missed, I was like some of the people online, at first anyway, and it was just pure anger. And I just thought, what a wasted opportunity. It was pure anger, but I'm not going to lie about how I felt, because I've seen a lot of people online who are sticking to the guns that they're still really angry. Isidor's getting a load of shit online by some, and then there's a huge amount that are, backing him, consoling him type thing. I did start off angry, very, very angry. And for those who are angry, I understand. I totally understand. That's the game. I'm not saying anyone should or shouldn't respond in a certain way or shouldn't react in a certain way. I was very much like that. But if I'm going to be totally honest, after about 4 or 5 seconds of being livid, that anger melted and just immediately turned to sympathy and empathy for Wilson Isidor, because he had a decent game. He had a good game. Yeah, he had his opportunities, but he had a good game and he threatened that back line of Burnley all game long. And he's done a lot of good for this team since coming in, scoring goals, important goals. He's worked his arse off for the side. He's clearly bought into what Sunderland is all about. So I don't know whether my reaction would be different if it was a different player, but because I feel like Wilson does love the club and he loves what Sunderland's about and he's bought into it, as I say. Maybe an override of sympathy has just kicked in because I have an attachment with the player. If it was someone else who was maybe playing shit week in, week out and then popped up and adamant to take a second penalty after missing a first and missed it again, I could have reacted totally differently. This could be a totally different emotional review. But I was ultimately absolutely heartbroken for the lad. I was absolutely gutted for him. And he was consoled by, of course, Sunderland, the Sunderland players and some of the Burnley players. So respect to them. And, Trafford, who he is just a big shithouse. But, as much as we give him shit and say he's a rat, is this, that and the other, he's done his homework. He's played Wilson to a T there in terms of getting in his head. The way he was, for the first one, and I'm going to get into the review anyway in a moment, but, for the first penalty he took, he's taken an absolute age. He's taken his gloves off. Everyone's waiting for him. Ref's waiting for him. Goes to the side of the goal. He's very clearly looking at his water bottle to see, history, past history takers, penalty takers, and Wilson's history to know which way to dive. Very obviously that's what's happening, which it is what it is. It's a tactic. But he's taking an age. We're screaming at him to get a move on. He's slowly getting his gloves on, staring at Wilson, trying to get in his mind. And he does it to a T, but the referee should have booked him first time. And he doesn't. And he takes an age. He takes a good 3-4 minutes until we actually take the penalty. And of course, it gets in Wilson's head. And Trafford did his job ultimately. But then the second time, he's done the exact same thing. Trafford, exact same thing, taking the piss, taking his time. And he's only just given a booking then. So you could argue that maybe if he was booked in the first one, for the time wasting and stuff like that, then the second penalty, he wouldn't have the opportunity to try and time waste. He'd have to get straight on his line and he wouldn't have enough time or as much time to get in Wilson's head. Of course, it's all if, buts and maybes, but that is just an argument I would have there. But as much as people are giving shit to Trafford, which he is, he's a shit house, he's a rat, we know what he's about, but he's won Burnley a point there, so I can't give him too much shit, because if it was us, Luke O'Nine's done a lot of shit house things in the past, and we love it, but when it's someone else, it's a rat. That's just the aim. That's just the way being a shithouse works. Yeah, you'll love it when your players are doing it, but you hate it when the players do it against you. It's just, again, it's the way it works. But I have a lot of sympathy for Wilson, and I have nothing but love and support for him. And yeah, it's frustrating as hell. Maybe personally, I would have had someone else to step up to take the second one, but he's got the bravery. He's had the bravery. I think it's very, very rare for a player to have 2 pens in a game. Then with the first one you miss, and then not too long after you get another one. He's just got this opportunity, and he's a proper striker, and he's got this opportunity to immediately correct the missed penalty, which is a very rare thing to get, as I say. Very, very rare. So he's thinking, right, okay, I fucked up the first one. I'm going to go bury the second. And of course, with that is the risk in itself that he might miss a second. And I'm sure this morning his morale will be in absolute pits. It'll be obliterated. So we just need to get behind the lad. There's no point in giving him too much shit now and piling on him. There's no point in that. He's not like I said, he's not like he's someone who has played shit or is a poor performer, and then he's adamant he's going to take both penalties and he's missed him, and then he's just adding to the shit performance list. He performs generally very, very well most weeks, and he's an incredibly talented player that I just think we need to get behind for this one, and that's just my call anyway. But again, people who have reacted angrily, frustrated, I get, but the pile-on that some have done, of course, everyone's entitled to their own emotional reaction, but to pile on him, calling him shit, he's a dick, he's this, that, the other, I just don't think it's warranted, because it happens and it's shit, and at the end of the day we have come away with a point at least, which, yes, it is in hindsight very frustrating because we could have scored plenty more. But anyway, we'll get past that and we'll get into the actual review in itself. So as I say, the opening 15-20 minutes, Burnley dominated. And in terms of our lineup, Lefay did start. It was almost like at times it looked like a 4-4-1-1 with Sirkin at left back, Hume at right back, O'Nien and Mepham in the middle, of course, Pato in goal. In the centre, we had Job and Dhannoo, and just ahead of them, it looked like Rig. Left-hand side was Lefay, right-hand side was Roberts, up top was Isidor. Now, Lefay, his position, of course, Regis knows him better than me, of course, but at the left-hand side, as a left midfielder, left winger, that is not where we're going to see the best out of Lefay. But, of course, Regis, as I say, he knows him more than me. So he's tried him and he's tested him there. And I think he was actually outstanding until about the 70th minute or so, where he was clearly tired and I thought he was going to get brought off. But he was very, very impressive at times. Of course, a lot of the possession was in Burnley's favour, so there's only so many opportunities he's going to get. I think against other teams, he's going to run them ragged, I would think. But in the bit parts he got here and there, he looked outstanding. You could just see he was a class above everyone. But yeah, getting into it, opening 15-20 minutes, it was all Burnley. We just could not get it out our own half, and we were forcing it. Even their press were fantastic, but when we got the ball, what impressed me for Burnley is the second we won it back in transitions, the way that the bodies they get back so quickly, it is ridiculously impressive, and it just shows the determination and willpower of that team, and that's why they are where they are in the league. But yeah, every time we would break, straight away, the bodies would just flood back, and the determination and that willpower to do it is, like I say, it's impressive. Not every team can do that, and it made it hard, but we were trying to force it. Whenever we got the ball, O'Nien, Hume, straight away, in those players on, we just force it, and he just twat it at the first Burnley player for no reason, or where no one is, and it was very, very poor, but I knew that at some point, or maybe in a few points in the game, we'd have to weather the storm, because Burnley, that opening 15-20, Anthony on that right-hand side was tearing Circuit a new one. He really was. He had him every single time. I've seen a lot of Burnley fans complain about the referee for this, that and the other. I do agree in that first half, there was a handful of little moments here and there that I think we probably got a bit fortunate with, in that Sirkin, I think Anthony took a touch round him, and Sirkin, he tried to play it off as if it was just a natural clash, but you could see what Sirkin was doing, and he was bearing down on that right-hand side, and he was going to come in and maybe bearing down on goal as well, but the referee's given nothing. Little half chances here and there, then we lost it again from forcing it out from the back. I think it might have been Hume, we did it a few times, and then there's a strike from the edge of the box, and Pato actually makes a fantastic save, but then there was, goal kicks where, I feel like slight Pato a lot. I think he is a good shot stopper, but there is just so many other elements of his game that I do think is just way below par. But there was just so many times, particularly in that first half, where he's trying to just dig the ball out to a diag ball over to Sirkin or Lefay, and he's just smashing it out of play, and it's not even near his man. And this isn't like a one-off. It's time and time and time again. His distribution, it's pitiful. It really is really, really poor. But then you could say, like, well, he's a great shot stopper, which is great. But to try and force it and really play out from the back with a keeper who isn't very good with his feet in Pato, it kind of defeats the object a little bit at times. But that's just a little minor frustration there. But after that sort of 20 minutes or so, we did get into it, I feel. It evened out a little bit. It calmed down. We competed on the ball. We tried to keep the ball a little bit. And we made a couple of half chances here and there. Wilson Isidor, we got a ball over the top. Very, very good chance for him. He's managed to... apparently, well, I looked at the replay. He looked like he was just about offside, just by shaving. But we played on, ball over the top. He's managed to fashion out a sort of half volley in the box on the right-hand side, and it's gone wide. But it was a really, really good opportunity. But we see out that first half, and like I said, Lafay on that left-hand side, he's not someone who... He's got absolutely loads of pace, but that ball control and the retention... I remember the first ball that came over to him, it's pinged over from right to left, and you could see it, the way he just picked it out the sky. It was, you could say straight away, it was just class. It is quick movement, and he's quite comfortable on the ball. His passing accuracy was fantastic. But the second half was a bit better. Of course, that first half, it was almost all about weathering the storm and getting to half time, but then starting to compete. Second half, I feel like we were the better side, personally. It was somewhat 50-50 at times, yeah, and Burnley had little half chances here and there, but I think we just made enough clear-cut chances to put them away, including the penalties, or not including the penalties. Very early on in that second half, straight away, Lafay skips away from his man in his own half, takes it on the left-hand side into the Burnley half, and the pass he played was absolutely sensational. It's a beautiful ball to Isidor, spins it around the back of the defence. Isidor takes a touch, he has to bury it, and again, he just lashed it. It's just all about power, and rather than just hitting it across goal where there's plenty of space, he's hit it at the near post, and it's just pinged off the near post and out of play for a goal kick. But what an opportunity it was. And again, it was very much 50-50. It was a good battle in that second half. And then as the game wore on, last sort of 25 minutes off, now I felt like we definitely had the better of the play. I could argue that they should have got a penalty. A ball got put in the box, and 09 and Fleming had a coming together. My end to come on later on for Chris Rigg. And I just thought, Lafay looked shattered after a sort of 65, 70 minutes. Surely it's Lafay that's going to come off. Or maybe even Roberts had a very, very poor game in my opinion. But Rigg come off. He was somewhat ineffective, but you get that with games against Burnley in terms of, they dominate possession. Rigg, I think, he didn't do poorly or anything, didn't give the ball away that much or anything, but he just didn't get on the ball as much as we'd like to see. A few little nice moves here and there, and did contribute a little bit, and defensively his work rate was fantastic, but he didn't get himself and didn't enforce himself in the game as much as I would have liked. But I thought if anyone was going to come off, it would have been Lafay, because he looked tired, but he did bring Ring off and brought Mayenda on. The first penalty, we slid Isidor through, and he's through on goal. He's tugged. It does go to ground somewhat easy, but it's a foul regardless. Now, the initial contact was absolutely outside the box. And yes, I agree, it probably should have been a free kick. In fact, it should have been a free kick. It was Isidor, of course, when he has fell, he's eventually rolled and landed in the box. At full speed, you can somewhat maybe understand why the ref had given it, but you'd think that the linesman or the assistant would have noticed that it was outside the box, but a penalty was given. But, of course, with it being a penalty, the bloke who fouled... Isidor, if it wasn't a penalty, he would have been sent off, but because of the double jeopardy rule, he can't. So he stays on the pitch. We take the penalty. Of course, he misses it. Mayenda did actually get a chance. We work it into the box. It falls back to Mayenda 6 yards out, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to be another 6 yard sitter that he's going to miss, because he misses them like once every couple of weeks, doesn't he now at the minute, Mayenda? But the bloke who arguably should have been sent off and the penalty shouldn't have been given, he was the one who made an outstanding block, and he got a touch on it, because, like I said, he's hit it from 6 yards out. It's going to go into the bottom corner, but then the sliding challenge just took a nick on the ball and took it wide. Otherwise, it would have been 1-0. So again, it's just ifs and buts. That he shouldn't have been on the pitch, but then you could argue, well, we should have scored the penalty that we shouldn't have got in the first place. So it is just swings and roundabouts. Then Dennis Serkin works down the left-hand side, and then he sells his man, dummies his man, tries to turn back, and as his man goes down and slides and he checks back, he brings Serkin down with him. I've seen a lot of Burnley fans moan about it, and they said that Serkin's gone down a little bit prematurely, or he's already going down before he's brought down. Either way, I think at full pelt, I can understand why the ref's giving it. There's absolutely contact there. And again, we come to the second penalty, and it's been missed. And It's gutting. I guess, like I said at the time, a lot of people are very angry and upset and frustrated, and that is absolutely understandable. I guess if I do try and take away my frustration and anger, the positives you can take from that, they're plenty. We've gone away from home, we've given them a game. After that first 15, 20 minutes, I honestly didn't really see them scoring. Of course, they had little half chances, but I didn't really think they were going to score. I didn't believe they were going to score. And it looked like it was only really going to be us at times in that second half. But yeah, I'm sure Burnley will come away the happier. Absolutely, of course, after conceding 2 pens. But we need to get behind the lads, back at it again on Tuesday. And I just think there's a lot of positives to take from what was a very difficult ending to that game. But that's it, guys. I've rambled on long enough. Let me know your opinions of everything I've said. Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, hit the like button for me. Let's get behind Wilson. Let's keep on going. No point in caving now and you know, getting at him. No point. But anyway, if you're new, hit the subscribe button. It's really, really appreciated for more Sunderland content. But for now, take care. Stay jammy. How are the lads?